Welcome to the Funeral Funds Life Insurance Podcast. I'm your host, Randy Vandervate from Funeral Funds of America, and you can find us at funeralfunds.com. That's funeral, Funds.com. Whether you're interested in term life, whole life, annuities, disability, business continuation, or final expense life insurance funding, we have you covered. Our team of experienced professionals will guide you through the complexities of insurance products to help you make an informed decision. In this podcast, I'm going to be discussing 4 burial life insurance alternatives. Let's get started. The number one burial insurance alternative is prepaid funeral plans. And oh my gosh, they sound so great, right? You go down to the funeral home and you pay everything off, and then your family doesn't have to worry about it. Now, that may be true, but here's the deal. Most people don't have the money to put it all down at once. So you got to make payments. So let's say they wanted $15,000 to make sure that you got buried and everything. And that's with all the plan, everything, flowers and casket and transportation, all that stuff. So if you had $15,000, you could go down and pay that, transfer that money over to them. They would lock in your coverage, and if you lived another 20 years and the price went up to 20,000 or 25,000, or even more, they would end up covering the difference. Well, how do they do that, you might ask? Well, they take your $15,000 and they just invest it into the stock market or whatever, probably some fairly conservative investments, and they just calculate a rate of return on that, and they use your money to offset any future price increases. Now, I mean, from your standpoint, you're locking in really today's pricing. So that sounds pretty good, right? But here's the deal. Most people can't afford to just transfer $10,000 or $15,000 over to the funeral home. So they end up having to do payments. So when you're doing payments, it may take you 10 years or even more possibly to pay that off. So let's think about this. If it was a $15,000 funeral and you made your first installment payment on that $15,000 and maybe you paid $100 and then you died 2 or 3 days later, the funeral home is not going to pay the entire $15,000 plan. You have only put $100 in. You are prepaying it. So they will only cover as much money as you actually have in the policy itself, which means if you're buying this to protect your loved ones or your children, they're not going to absolutely be protected until what, 10 years from now, however long it takes you to pay it off. So although it all sounds good in just kind of planning wise, in execution, it often doesn't work out. The other thing too is, these plans, if you do the payment plan, they can often work out okay if you're younger, like if you're in your 50s or something, maybe early 60s. But what we found in helping thousands and thousands of people is so many people are so busy living, they don't think about dying. And they don't think about getting this insurance until it's too late. And then they're on a fixed or limited income and they find themselves in their 60s and 70s and 80s, and they haven't done anything about this. And those prepaid plans can just be so awfully expensive. Plus, they just expose your loved ones and families to a lot of risk that, if you hadn't paid it off yet, they're going to have to come with money out of pocket. So in that case, final expense life insurance, burial insurance, cremation insurance, what we help families with funeral funds is often the better choice for a number of reasons. Number one, 90 to 95% of the time, we're getting people approved for first day coverage or benefits. So that means, hypothetically, with first day coverage, if your policy were issued and approved and went into force today and you died tomorrow, the insurance company would pay out the coverage amount. So let's say it's $15,000. You got approved for a $15,000 policy. You paid $50 for that first month, and you died a day later. The insurance companies would have to pay that $15,000 out, right? Good for your family, bad for the insurance company. That's just how it works out. So yeah, first day coverage just really provides a lot of peace of mind to folks. And often it's going to be significantly cheaper than making payments on a compressed payment plan on a prepaid funeral. So, even though the prepaid plan is an alternative, in most cases, people we talk to are genuinely better going and getting final expense life insurance. The number two burial insurance, life insurance alternative is savings accounts. Well, this has kind of got some of the same flaws as the prepaid plan in that most people aren't good savers. So having a savings account that you don't save money into is not really an ideal situation. And the other thing too is a lot of times if there's money in the savings account, people just have a tendency to spend that money. They find stuff to spend on it, to spend it on. And if they don't find something to spend it on, a lot of times their health as they get older dictates that they spend that money. And then they find themselves at a ripe old age and they've spent all of that. And now they don't have any insurance in place. And certainly prepaid funerals get awfully expensive at that point. So, really, at that point, again, if you don't have to worry about coming up with $10,000, which that takes a lot of time for folks on a fixed or limited income on Social Security or disability, we can help you with first day coverage, life insurance, whole life insurance, cremation insurance, burial insurance, funeral funds insurance, and take care of that. And that way you don't have to worry about it. Most people want one thing when they're planning for their final arrangements. They want peace of mind. They want to know that they've got a guaranteed plan in place that when they pass away, their loved ones or children aren't going to have to pay for this. Savings accounts really not the best way to do that. The third way is not the best way either, but we're going to present it to you. Crowdfunding, like, GoFundMe or something like that. Basically, internet begging, unfortunately. And, there's places and times for that something tragic happened. And, it's always good to support people and, in a time of need, be able to kind of provide for and care for and, show some love financially to some people that are struggling. I'll say this though, a lot of times, I feel that's best used for stuff that's like a surprise kind of out of the blue. But you dying, you and I both dying, that's not a surprise. We know we're going to die. We are not guaranteed another day. We hope to make it tomorrow, but we should be planning to die today because we just never know. It could be something totally out of our control. Could be our health, a heart attack, could be get hit by a truck, a cement truck, or accidental. Some construction worker drops a hammer from 20 stories up and we happen to be where it hits the ground, right? So yeah, just crowdfunding is a not cool way to go. That's just poor planning. A life that you are very intentional and that you plan for things. And if you don't want your family members or loved ones or children to suffer financially when you pass away, just take care of that. Be an adult. And we can help you at funeralfunds.com. We'll run a bunch of different prices for you. We'll help you understand your best options. And just understand crowdfunding is not a good way to go. Under crowdfunding, I would kind of put that like having a fish fry or bingo or kind of anything like that where people loved and cared enough about you to come together and do that. But I can assure you one thing, people would prefer not to do that. So take care of this yourself, and it'll you'll have a better legacy to leave behind for all your friends and families as well. The fourth burial life insurance alternative is government assistance. And one of those sayings that kind of the number one thing you don't want to hear is, hey, we're from the government and we're here to help you, right? And somebody famous said that once. But yeah, the government just really doesn't offer any plans at all. They do. The Social Security Administration, they do provide a one-time benefit of $255 to the surviving spouse or dependent of a child who's passed away. But in many cases, we're hearing that for any number of loopholes, people aren't getting that money. And really think about it. Does $255 really even move the needle if you've got a $10,000 or $15,000, burial, $5,000 cremation, $2,000 cremation? Yeah, it really doesn't do much at all. And, unfortunately, not to like make this a political discussion, but, you know, Our government can't even fund itself. We're over $30 trillion in debt, and they can't even budget their own thing, much less budget for their constituents to pay for burials. So it's just not going to happen. You're going to have to take care of this on your own. And prepaid funeral plan can work, but it's not ideal, as I've highlighted. Savings accounts, yeah, in a perfect world they work, but when where the rubber meets the road, they don't work. Crowdfunding, that's just not a cool way to go. And government assistance, yeah, the government has trouble running itself, much less taking care of your final expense needs. So name is Randy Vanderveit, and I hope you've enjoyed this podcast and it's been helpful to you. I know it's been a little depressing just because of the topic, but Funds of America can help you qualify for first aid coverage or benefits at funeralfunds.com. That's funeral, FUNDS.com. And our phone number is 888-862-9456. We will be blessed to help you with this in the future. Until that day comes, stay safe, take care, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.